C. But
Yeah, so we
And then you press it down.
Yeah, you can
Yep.
pass some more down.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the August meeting of the Greencastle Common Council. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Again, welcome, everyone. Linda, can you call the roll, please?
Councilor Mark Hammer.
here,
Councilor Adam Cohen.
Yo,
Councilor Stacey Langdon.
Here.
Friday
Councilor
night.
Ron Pedro.
here.
Councilor Cody Eckert.
Here.
Councilor Dave Murray.
Here.
And Councilor Jacob Whitener.
Here.
Do we have any public petitions or comments that are not already on the agenda? Hearing none, our next order of business is the presentation from Greencastle Community Schools. So Russell Harvey is one of the council's appointments to the board, and Jeff Gibney, the superintendent, are both here to provide a little update on what's going on with our school system. So whoever wants to start, or if you both want to tag team tonight?
I think we'll tag team. Jeff has a little bit of a presentation. So.
Good to see
He thought you were going to tag team. He took off that one.
You seen? I was like, where did he go?
There you go, Russell. Have at
Well, I
it.
didn't know if it was a bad omen. As soon as I got out of my truck, a tree branch just comes crashing down.
Oh, no.
Yeah, so
Not one of our trees.
no. And then I didn't see it fall on anyone or anyone's vehicle.
Eric can commiserate with that.
Yeah, so I don't necessarily, I don't want to take up too much time, so I won't necessarily go through this in full, but I kind of wanted to share that with you to kind of give you an idea of some of the things going on. So if you turn to page 2, we have big things, and I like the big eyes on there. Big things happening at Greencastle Schools that we're really proud of. A lot of things that happened last year, and a lot of things that are carrying forward into this school year. So whether it be our academic Super Bowl teams and continuing to add to our state champions, or it's the students earning gold or silver at our solo ensemble contests, or our kids competing on the athletic fields. We had some sectional titles last year. Our boys basketball team fought brilliantly in the regionals. We had a teacher receive a Lilly Fellowship, one of the creativities funded. Now COVID kind of delayed her study and research with that, but that's not only a big honor for her, but also a big honor for our school system. Who was that, Jeff? Kristen Hamilton. And I don't remember exactly what she targeted, so I apologize, but it was really cool. I want to say it was to go study. She's a math teacher, so I believe it was studying math in Rome, I believe. Yeah. So which is a really cool and really neat opportunity. Certainly, we all hope to see COVID one day go away, but we saw very creative and flexible staff during the pandemic where they stepped out. Teachers and students and parents both included really stepped out of their comfort zones to try to do new things. To make sure that the learning could continue as much as possible, and that our students were supported. So, our high school has a saying, rather than back to normal, it's back to better, because their goal is always to be better. And so, one of the cool things, just a sample that came out of COVID, is they prototyped a 0 hour, and a 0 hour is a period of time in the morning to where students can still report to school at their normal time, but they don't have to. But what we're seeing is kids are coming early, and they're taking advantage of that early time block in the morning to receive extra tutoring from their teachers, or support on their homework, or just meeting with a fellow group of students to collaborate on a project. So that's something that obviously developed during COVID, and that's something that's going to continue regardless. And it's just kind of a small sampling of that. We started an after-school program, so we had a 21st Century Community Center Learning Grant through the federal government and DOE, so we had a after-school program in grades 5 through 8, but we used a lot of our stimulus dollars, and we're seeking some additional federal funds to support after-school program that doesn't cost our families anything in kindergarten through 4th grade. And it's been challenging to staff that and fill that, and we're not necessarily able to fill it just full just yet because we're short on staff. because we had over 354 students expressed interest in participating, and right now we're only able to accommodate really kind of 200. So if anybody in here wants to volunteer or work the after-school program, we'd be glad to have you. Something that we've started anew with CJ Shields, myself, our assistant superintendent, is we started the Pawcast, and the Pawcast is a podcast, just another avenue to get information out to our families of the great things taking place, or to just introduce new members to our Greencastle family. And we just found out today that, and I apologize if I don't know the name because I know it's changed, but the local radio station, I believe, has agreed to play that podcast for our community members. So that's an exciting thing, and certainly we appreciate having good partnerships. And then thanks to the Redevelopment Commission, who invested roughly $200,000, we have the Digital Fabrication Lab at our middle school. And so we're really, really excited about that, and especially at that middle school level, to where sometimes students' interest can start to kind of wane in education. And so you think of a digital fabrication lab, many of us in this room had a more traditional woodshop class. Well, a digital fabrication lab uses many of those same tools, whereas in the past you might use like a scroll saw or a jigsaw to cut out a piece of wood, and now students are programming, they're writing code, they're using computers, and then they're translating that over to a laser printer or laser cutter to cut it out, or the CNC machine and router. So it's kind of a new age spin, obviously, on something that we were formerly used to. And really the goal of that is to, for instance, I'll use the birdhouse project again. I mean, that's a great thing to do, but we don't want it to be so prescriptive. We want to allow for students' individual expression, creativity, that, not every birdhouse necessarily needs to be designed the same way. There might be multiple methods and multiple different tools, and that's just one example. So we want students to work on solving real-world problems, and we hope to partner with local industry and businesses to maybe help solve some of the problems that you all are facing, or those companies are facing. And that's a great way to teach students responsibility and to give them opportunities to develop the soft skills, because so often we hear from industry and our industry partners that that's something that they lack. Well, we have to give them opportunities, and we have to allow them to kind of model those experiences. And then, again, I don't want to take a lot of time, but we're also really excited about the facility improvements that are coming to our school system. So we know we have great teaching and learning, but now we know that we also need to make some updates and improvements to our facilities, because, for instance, with the high school and the middle school, it's been quite a few years since they've been touched. So we have a lot of things that are end of life. And for instance, our science labs aren't up to modern standards and modern to allow our students and staff to engage in the type of learning and collaboration that students need today. So we're really excited about that. So it's targeting safety, security, access, improving our teaching and learning environment. So we're looking at connecting academics, fine arts, and athletics. So we're looking at connecting Parker Auditorium and McAnally to the high school, and then in that creating some additional opportunities for students to meet and collaborate and really kind of create this hub to where our students want to be, and spaces that can be utilized by them after school, before school, and then obviously even with our community. If our alumni groups want to come in and use a meeting space. So looking at doing that, updating our media center, and the nicest thing about it is it doesn't do anything to our debt service tax rate. For our taxpayers, it's debt service rate neutral. So we're able to take care of these things through the bond sale. We won't, obviously, the scope of it won't hit each facility the same. So the majority of the dollars are directed at the middle school, McAnally, and the high school, because those are the buildings last to be touched. But it will touch all of our facilities. So looking at secure entrances for RIDPath, for TZ, And then looking to address some of the moisture and water issues that we've had at TZ as well. So trying to get to the root cause of that. So we're really proud of it. We're getting close to where we're getting ready to develop construction blueprints, and we hope to go to bid and have a competitive bid day come October, November, to where we can begin with construction in December, and then roughly kind of be in that process for about 18 to 24 months. So it's an exciting time to be a Tiger Cub. Well, it's always an exciting time to be a Tiger Cub, and just to kind of give you a sampling of that, I know that we're hoping to maybe even kind of share more closely what things might look like at our August board meeting. And then as far as a digital fabrication lab, it'd be nice to have a group come through and eventually invite, once we get set up, invite industry partners come in, take a look at what we're doing. But we're preliminarily looking at scheduling an open house before our September board meeting. So yeah, so it's exciting times. So I mean, I'd be happy to answer any questions you have. I'll also leave some of my cards to where I'm always available to chat, kind of talk through things, and yeah.
Yeah, I just have one point and one question.
Sure.
So the Indiana General Assembly recently passed legislation requiring civics education to be taught in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade. You know, so often us as elected officials are traffic cops for people. They don't know where to go, and I've spent so many phone calls explaining to folks where they need to be for help, whether it's the right executive agency, you know, level of government, state, local, or national, or branch of government. So I hope when those curricula are developed that you'll feel free to reach out to the city council, whatever capacity we can help in. But my second question, or my question is, you know, when it comes to curricula, how can parents discover, you know, what will be in this year's curricula? Where can they go to find those resources and what their children will be learning?
Yeah, so one of the greatest individuals, or not greatest individuals, most knowledgeable, it's, you know, we want a collaborative environment, a collaborative culture, and so really having those conversations first with classroom teacher, because they're the experts in the day-to-day, and they're the ones planning the day-to-day instruction in the classroom. But certainly the building principals or our assistant superintendent, Jenny French, who works closely with the building principals on what that looks like. Obviously, we have the Indiana Academic Standards, which serves as the framework for what we are able to teach in the classroom. And there are so many standards. Obviously, we're not able to hit every single standard and benchmark, you know, throughout the year. But the teachers obviously identify and prioritize those standards, and you know, do the best they can to cover in great detail the information. But yeah, reaching out to the principal, classroom teacher, or our assistant superintendent.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Jeff, I have two questions. The environment, obviously, we've been in the last year and a half. How is student enrollment? Is it up from last year? Is it down from last year? Are more people homeschooling, which you hear about? And do we have a teacher shortage, or are we fully staffed at this point?
Yeah, so those are two really good questions. First and foremost, you know, Greencastle as a whole, we've been following the statewide trends with enrollment, and we've been experiencing roughly 43 student decrease year to year. Obviously, last year was no different. But initial indications and the way things stand right now, and you know, anything that we do can change that in a moment. But right now, I see that we're up even from last fall, and it might be anywhere from 50 to 70 students. So, you know, maybe you know, experienced a net loss of 43 last year was really more than what, and maybe that was more pandemic related. But we have seen those students return more closely to the classroom. I do think that you know, one of the things that will help drive enrollment is we need good housing, and we need housing developments here, not just in the city, but in the county, because there is a demand for that. Folks and professionals need places to live, and you know, if people are going to work in Greencastle, we don't want them living in Plainfield. We want them living here and contributing to our school system and also our local economy. So, sorry, I'll get off my soapbox with that. The next question. We have plenty of openings. There is a teacher shortage. We've been saying for years, it's real, and it's even more real now than ever before. I think we offer a competitive salary and benefits, but we'll never be able to compete with the donut schools in Indianapolis. So if it comes down to dollars and cents, we might not be able to match that, dollar for dollar, but we are able to offer staff members a lot of other things, just, in the smaller class sizes, the family feel, that type of thing. But no, we have not filled all of our teaching spots this year, and I'm quite concerned that we won't be able to fill them all because there just are not candidates, and that's not something I see improving in the near future. Just in conversations with, for instance, Indiana State, I mean, the number of individuals entering teacher preparatory programs, it's dwindling, and that's a very real concern. Yeah.
Thank you.
I might just add on to that a specific example. I'm retired now, but I work very closely with Teresa Lummers at the Commission for Higher Education, and she mentioned to me in a meeting that in the previous year, only 8 teachers graduated were certified to teach science in the entire state.
My son was one of the Purdue grads of 2017, certified in math education. And after 2 years in the workforce teaching high school in the region, he's moved on to a different career at his early age. What is teacher morale like within the system?
Yeah, so that's a good question. My question is kind of what's morale like just in general in society itself, and with the challenges that we're facing. Long days. I will say that the one thing about our school teachers, and just not even our school teachers, I mean our bus drivers, our custodians, our cafeteria workers, they love our kids. And so they were so excited to come back and be able to welcome our students back at the beginning of the year because they missed them. They were worried about them all summer and are happy to kind of move forwards and work with them. So I think, the way things are right now, we're likely to experience some bumps in the road here and there as we navigate this year like we did last year. But yeah, our teachers, they've been resilient. Our building principals have been resilient, and that's hard to do because there have been a lot of challenges. There's been a lot of divisiveness. They're doing the best they can to lean on one another and kind of rally around one another. Last year we had the saying, we're Greencastle United because we're stronger together. So trying to kind of focus on those kinds of things, and my message to them is, take it one day at a time. Some days it's not even about the teaching and not about teaching, the math or teaching the English. It's about, building a relationship with the kids and having a conversation with them, making sure that they're good in all other avenues of what they're dealing with or what they may be facing. So I'm proud of our teachers and staff members, and I think for right now, I think they're pumped up, they're eager, and they're ready to continue to make an impact because that's what educators do.
To follow up on Stacy's question, I had a teacher in another county tell me that they're seeing kindergarten classes very large this year. Are we experiencing the same thing? Because I think there was a lot of kindergartners that could have enrolled last year and said,
Yeah,
I'm out, we'll wait a year.
Yeah, so we're over 160 in kindergarten. Now, we started our transitional kindergarten program to support maybe some of our kindergartners that weren't quite ready last year. So they're repeating kindergarten again. It's kind of a structured 2-year kindergarten program. So we do have to account for that small number. But once you remove that group, we're looking at 145, 150. So that's still a rather large group. A lot of our elementary class sizes are maybe 125, mid 120s. We have a huge freshman class. I think it's right around 135, and then in the middle school, the 8th grade group is between 150 and 160. So, and then we have our two smallest grade levels are in junior class and senior class. They're right around 110. That's just kind of the way that smaller groups kind of going through. So,
Okay.
yeah.
Well, first off, thank you for bringing up housing, because we all talk about it all freaking time. But, one thing you can do to help us, and you've done, is the website is so much better. But the more you can do to tell that story on the website, I work at DePaul, I'm always working with people that are thinking of moving here, and if they have kids, question one is, what are the schools like?
Yes.
From Area 30 to the success academically, the more we can talk about that on a website up front. And I remember not that many years ago when our website was just depressing.
Yeah.
I don't know how else to put it, but it was the most depressing website ever.
Yeah.
Hint, we're going to get our city one better, too. But on a maybe a little more serious note, before COVID hit, there was all this, our country's divided, and there was all this upheaval in the schools. I think you and I actually exchanged an email or two, and then COVID hit, we all went the other direction. You talked about the morale of the teachers. What is it like now in the high schools for our kids? Like, are all the kids feeling part of something? Are we not there yet? And that's kind of a vague question. It's a hard question.
Yeah, I think we're there. I think it's,
We're never going to be there.
yeah, and that's another one of those things that I think it's sometimes hard to gauge. But what I will say is that I think for a lot of the young people, some of the things that we worry about or let divide us or whatever, some of the youngsters just don't do that. Now, I'm not saying there's not issues and things like that, but yeah, I think they're happy to be in school and be with their friends and be able to be at a whatever the normal is for the moment, and so yeah.
Good enough.
I don't know what you think.
No, I think kids are happy to be back, too. I mean,
Yeah.
I wanted to let you know, another school community tie. I was communicating with Jen Finnerty, who's an excellent teacher, by the way, and she's going to be bringing a group, hopefully, if we can still have field trips in a couple weeks, to our wastewater and water plant, and she's going to take AP Environmental, and she's going to, hopefully, and if you approve it, but no, I'm just kidding. No, AP Environmental and the Environmental Club, because we have a really interesting wastewater plant, and it will teach the kids so much. And
I'm sure.
And then I also, they're going, and Mark Couch is an excellent tour guide, and so he's going to come in that day just for that. And then, and our water plant too, and the whole issue with the census, and we just did the census and how it put us over, and then we were under the influence of surface water and how IDEM came in. It's all very related to that group, and so so we have some things to teach the kids. So I think it'll be pretty cool.
are we going to give them the nightmares we had when that census came out and we went over it?
Yeah, that was terrible. That was terrible.
That's a great learning opportunity for our kids. Yeah, keep sending those kinds of opportunities our way, for sure. We appreciate that.
Thank you. Any further questions? Well, it's been a pleasure to work with Jeff since he's come on board from my office, and we have a slight modification to the budget. They've requested an extra crossing guard at 240 and Zinc Mill Road, so we've added that $3,600 plus FICA to the budget so we could accommodate them, since we've put the sidewalk and pathway and connected the Woods Edge neighborhood with additional sidewalks and the apartment development. We're seeing a lot more kids try to cross the street there.
Yeah.
There are pedestrian signals there, but we want to keep our kids safe, so we will. Our harder part may be finding somebody to do the job as opposed to funding it, but we'll try to get that done for you.
I suppose, we talked about teacher shortage. Are you bus drivers, custodians,
You name it.
administrative.
Likely if somebody wants a position in our school system, we can find a place for them. Whether it's working for us and being on the payroll or just simply volunteering. Yep.
Thank you both very much for
thank you.
joining us this evening. We'll look forward to maybe seeing you in about 6 months again for
Yeah, for sure.
another update or so.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, our next section, and thank you for your patience, is a special request. The first one is Regina Dean. Mrs. Dean, would you step forward and maybe answer any questions that council might have about your block party? It sounds like a great idea for the neighborhood there.
Hello, yes, I am Regina Dean. I'm nervous because I've never did anything like this before in my whole
Oh,
life.
you're doing fine.
But yes, I have lived in Greencastle all my life, born and raised here. I live in the South End, and you know, a lot of the older people have gone on, and so in my mind, I would like to throw a wholesome family fun block just on my street, and that would be the only street that would be blocked off would be my street. And we will play games and have music and just have a good time and just reminisce about the old times, you know, and the whole community is invited. It's not just for family and friends. Everybody in my community is invited to come and just celebrate one another and love on one another, because I believe that's what we need at this particular time. So if you have any questions, I'll try to answer them.
Regina, usually when folks request a street closure, the length of the closure extends to either at or a little bit past the time of the actual event itself, and it looked like those times might be flip-flopped here. It says length of time for closure is until 9 o'clock, but the time of the event goes till 10.
Okay.
Do we
yes.
want to flip-flop
Do
those
we want to
two?
flip-flop that? Yes. Okay, the event will start at noon,
Mm-hmm. And
and
end
the
at 9?
closure will be end at 8 o'clock.
Okay.
You can end it at 9.
Huh?
You can end it later if you want.
Oh, well, I'm the one.
You're not asking for much. Believe me, some of these people out here are about to ask for a whole heck of a lot.
Okay, can we extend it until 9 o'clock?
Yes, no,
Okay.
and 10 is fine. And
10 is fine.
The only
Let's make it till 10.
stipulation with 10 is if you go past 10, then
Right.
that's when you have
You
to
have troubles.
request.
No.
Right.
Noise
And
issues.
she requested it.
She requested
I know, I'm pointing, I'm just pointing it out. But,
Okay, yeah. 10 would be great. I mean,
Okay.
sure.
right on.
Look, I just keep hammering it up.
I used to live at Crown in Ohio.
Oh, yes.
So I was like, so I feel like I have been grandfathered into being able to join
Well, I
here.
hope to see you there, too,
I
as
will
well.
make a point of it.
Anybody want to hear about it?
I've got an auction
I
going.
will have to be there early rather than late, though. I've got baseball tickets.
Oh, okay.
And you stated that you got a strict stop time at 10 p.m. for the DJ, so, you know, I think,
Right.
you know,
Yeah.
have it be 10.
Yeah.
Or maybe 11, you know, if
Yeah.
you need time to pick up and,
Pick up and clean up and do all that, yeah.
Just make it to 11 and make the noise
Yeah.
ordinance go to 11 and make it easy.
Okay.
So
I would-
I'd move from noon to, go ahead, buddy.
I would make the motion to approve Regina's street closure request, details to be worked out on the time.
Just noon to 11 and that'll cover it. How about just noon to 11 and that'll cover it?
You're not going to have a beer garden or
No, there's no
anything like that?
alcohol, no selling or
Okay, then you
anything.
don't have to
We will
worry
have
about
sandwiches and chips and water and things of that nature.
Then you don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
An agreement and
Okay.
insurance and all that.
Okay.
And our street department will get you barricades for
Okay.
each end of the street.
Okay, I appreciate it. Thank you all so very much.
Thank you for what
was
you
the
do for your
second?
neighborhood.
Yes,
I'll
I
second.
love my
I'll second.
neighborhood.
Camera?
Mark, we have a motion and a second to approve both the street closure and noise ordinance request. Any further questions or discussion?
As late as, basically, do we need a time frame on there, or are we fine with just
Well, it
TBA?
sounds like we were going to go with the event till 10 and then
Okay.
up until 11 for
His
closure.
actual motion was kind of
Yes,
TBA,
yes.
but whatever.
Okay. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? You're good to go.
Thank you.
and hope the weather cooperates.
And you
we'll
guys
see
can all come.
We'll see you back here next year for the second annual.
Okay, absolutely.
We really like this. We may
Yes.
implement something like this. That's a great
Thank
idea.
you.
Sounds good.
Thank you, I appreciate it. Thank you all.
Thank you, Regina.
Okay, next street closure request is the WTHI This is the bike ride, and this is Jenny Newland. Jenny, are you here? Welcome back again.
Yes, welcome.
Round two.
Round two.
Thanks for having me back.
We appreciate your work on this big project.
So what I have here is just some updated information. As if you guys remember, the last time I was here, we talked about having public parking in downtown, and that posed a problem just in light of all the events that were happening and parking being an issue. So we worked out a plan to move the event to Big Walnut Sports Park. I did go to the Parks Department board meeting last week, and they did approve that. So page 1 here is just a snapshot of how we intend to lay out the event. The only road closure that we would need is Capitol Drive, and it's reflected on there with the 2 red marks. There's just really a small portion of it, so people will still be able to get in the park, and then that county road that is south of the park can still be accessed by the other street around. So there is a homeowner that's on the corner of the south portion of the park, and I have had a conversation with him, and there was not an issue.
Yeah, his driveway's on the
Yeah,
south leg.
yeah. So he was totally fine with it. We're going to the commissioners meeting next week to get that approved. I have spoken with the county street department just to make them aware that, you know, there doesn't seem to be any chip and seal projects in the works, nothing like that. And then the other pages are just the updated routes that we've navigated. So really, other than that, everything else with the event has stayed the same.
So the routes here, what's the mileage on each one of the top one on the second page?
The first one listed, if I can use that, I'm sorry. The first one listed is the 12 mile, followed by the 40, and then the 62. So all the 40 and the 62, the long routes will exit the park heading north. We will have some police assistance with that to get everyone out onto the highway and then out to the county, into the county safely. The 12-mile route will depart about 9:15 after those riders get out, and they'll be actually leaving the park via the south entrance. And then coming back in, all of the rides will come back into the park from the south, heading north.
We're quite a busy weekend in Greencastle. We have athletics, paw events, your thing, Friday, Saturday.
Well, we're hoping to get some riders who maybe people will come in and ride and then go to those events. That would be ideal.
Seems like you've dotted all your I's and T's, and
I hope so.
You're going to the county because we can't do that one. So I'd make a motion to close Capitol Drive per your request for the bike ride.
I will second Adam's motion.
We have a motion and a second to grant the street closure request. Are there any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please signify your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Nice work, Jenny.
Thank you.
Very good.
Thank you very much for your patience and great work.
I did have one thing I needed to mention, just to make sure it was okay. Traditionally, during a cycling event, we use road markers on the road. That's just a washable paint that points in the direction they would be going. Would you see
We
a...
have had some people do that in the past.
But we've also had complaints about that in your neighborhood.
Yes.
Yeah,
Oh, really?
And we've said no
yeah.
because of that.
So no?
Because it stays for a long time.
Can you use chalk?
There's a couple different kinds of paint. I was under the impression that it wouldn't last any longer than 2 weeks, tops.
Yeah,
Is that a long time?
Normally like our,
Okay.
when the utilities come out and mark utility locations, that typically lasts about 2 weeks. But we've had some issues where people have left some things and they've stuck around quite a long time.
Sure.
And-
Okay.
and
Close to a year.
Maybe a month ago,
Yeah.
I had to tell someone no because there were complaints.
Okay. Okay.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. I mean, obviously, we need to point people in the direction that they need to go. So if we did yard signs and picked them up that evening, is that acceptable? No? Are you afraid that those are going to stay? Is that
Well, they're not supposed to be in our right of way.
Yeah, if they're not in the right of way.
You can't be in the right of way.
Well, how...
Just most of it's outside the city.
You can't use...
You're outside the city.
Can you use colored duct tape?
We'll work
colored
with you
duct
on
tape
some-
to make arrows.
Call Lori tomorrow. That's her new answer.
That's our new
Well,
answer.
it's not my, it's
I'm
not
sorry,
my
I didn't think that
decision.
would be an issue.
But we can't authorize yard signs is the problem.
Yeah, if it's not in the right of way, or if you have, most people have folks directing traffic. I mean, that's what happens usually.
Right,
They
but
have
62
volunteers.
miles is a long way, and there's a lot of,
Well, like I say, most of that's out in the county,
Yeah, the
so,
only
So
thing
just get-
we would worry,
is the
we're just
city.
worried about in the city.
yeah. So
Who's worried about
you-
capital?
I
okay,
don't think that, you would need to check with the county to see what their rules are.
okay,
I frankly don't know what they are, or if they even have any rules.
sure.
And you said the police were going to be,
They're just escorting us out of the park to make sure that when we turn onto the highway, that everybody gets onto the highway
Have a
safely.
really good rider up front of each one of the groups. And when you get to the split-off point on the 40 and the 62, you have two. You know, one to go to the 62, one to go stay with the 40.
I think this year, did they still use chalk anyway?
Is that something I
In your
can,
neighborhood?
I can do some investigating and follow back up with
No.
you guys on the paint to see exactly how long it lasts, or?
Is using GPS navigation anything that cyclists tend to use these days for these kinds of
Yeah,
events?
but I mean, it's a given that
Yeah.
every ride that I've ever been a part of uses markings on
You
the
use the
on
little
road.
circles with the dash that shows the direction.
Yeah, because what happens is you leave in a group and then everybody breaks
Springs
up,
out.
and some people have navigation and some people don't, and and I'm not familiar with this area. And to be honest with you, I drove part of the 40-mile route today, and I got massively turned around because all those county roads
Wow.
changed from 600 to 300 to.
And Heritage Lake and all.
So it's definitely going to be an issue, and I can certainly check with the county, but.
Well, maybe that's something the council needs to address, because I don't feel comfortable saying yes to one and not to another. So if you ask me, it's going to be a no, because I said no to one. So maybe council needs to make that decision and decide whether or not they're going to allow it. And maybe it's just a matter of you can just do directional, is that a sign?
This is an example of some of the things we're wrestling with our sign ordinance revisions, and so,
So Lori, if we agree to let it go on Capitol Drive, do we have to then let it happen,
Yes.
say, on Seminary? Or can we say that it varies by street? That's a bad precedent, right?
This is a much bigger discussion about what constitutes a sign and what constitutes.
I know.
It's a much more complex issue than what you probably think.
No, I know it is. That's what scares me. Because once we do this, we could have all types of things on our streets.
Open Pandora's box.
Do you know what kind of paint was used on the ones that were a problem that lasted a long time?
It was supposed to be temporary, but I don't know.
Well, the other
It was
issue
temporary.
is, once we allow it, what are we saying you can paint? You know?
Well,
when
that's
is this-
it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
and then what
What's the sign?
product will it be? Will it be something that only lasts 2 weeks, or is it something that will last?
Well, what
for
will it
7
say?
months?
What will
and you
its content
cannot,
be?
you cannot legislate content.
I know.
Jenny came here requesting a street closure.
Yeah.
I am fine with approving the street closure with the understanding that y'all can get this figured out in terms of being able to provide navigation for participants that isn't going to involve paint on streets that
Well,
is
you mean
long
them.
lasting.
You mean the organizers?
Yes.
Because we can't, what Lori's saying is we can't authorize any paint on the street in Orchard Street, even if it's.
I'm
I
just
get
saying-
that.
I'm just saying, if you're going to, we need to make sure it's thought out and you're doing it the
I
same
mean,
for
we will
everybody.
have, on the 12-mile route, it's going to be in the city. So the 40 and the 62 are not very much.
I'm less concerned
TN.
about the 12-mile route, because we are going to have volunteers at the key places, but there are quite a few turns.
Her only answer could be no.
I mean, like I said, we can certainly figure it out, and I'll talk to the county. That would be the biggest issue, is marking the county roads. Sorry to be a troublemaker, guys. Every time I
it's
come
actually,
Good trouble.
it's actually not your fault. It's due to a Supreme Court decision that we're wrestling with in terms of content and,
And we haven't had any issues before until
Yeah.
recently.
so, yeah.
Sure. Sure, No, I understand.
Okay, well, thank you very much.
All right,
and
thank you.
We'll be in touch as things move forward.
Thanks, Jenny.
Okay, our next one is for the Center for Diversity and Inclusion, and Joe Harris is supposed to be here, but I suspect somebody's substituting for him.
I am not Joseph Harris.
We know.
Yes, so I am here in Joseph's stead. My name is Beth Haymaker, and the Center for Diversity and Inclusion is over on Hannah Street. We're part of DePaul, and I know we have done this block party before. This would be a block party during the first week of classes on August 26th, and the current hours that we have blocked off are partly for setup and breakdown. I think they go from start at 5:30, but the event is actually just from 7 to 10. And we would break everything down by 11. We will have a couple of food trucks, and we'll have some tables set up because we'll have clubs where the students will get to know some of the student organizations. We also have some community partners, Gobin, the NAACP, Putnam Pride, Conspire, have been invited to join. Joseph said that there's some inflatables that will be there. This is mysterious to me. I'm not exactly sure what that's going to look like, what these inflatables are. I believe they're inflatable games, but I think he showed me something inflatable jousting.
Yeah.
But I don't know which inflatables we have settled on. And this would just be a closure, from between Jackson and Indiana. So we wouldn't need any intersections blocked off. Just that across the street is Peeler, mostly, I think almost all DePaul buildings around us. And for the music, we'll have the speakers facing in toward campus and not in the other
Wait, my only question. It's the only thing I ask every time.
Joseph coached me.
Jeez, I told
Joseph sat me down and told me what I needed to say.
The one thing I always throw out there.
She's good.
Well, I've known Beth almost all of her life, and I'd like to make the motion to approve.
Beth, are you working at DePaul now?
Yes, I'm working at DePaul with international students. I know. There's a gravitational pull back to Putnam County and to Greencastle. So here I am.
We have a second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second to approve the street closure request by the Center for Diversity and Inclusion. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please indicate your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? You're good to go.
Thanks,
Thank you for
everybody.
the explanation.
Thanks, Beth.
Thank you.
And we have one more. This is for DePaul University Athletics, Melinda Link. Welcome.
Hello.
I thought when all those people stood up, they were coming up with you.
No, I'm a lone wolf tonight. But this is also my first time, so I'm also nervous like Regina, but I'm also closing the same block for football. So we have 5 home football games this year. So we're requesting the same street closures that we've always have. So it's Hannah Street from Jackson to Indiana and Madison from Hannah to Hill Street. It's just a safety concern. We'll have a lot of pedestrian traffic in those areas. So I don't think it's anything outside of the ordinary for all of you, but we are here to request them. I also was coached for this moment, so. I was told people might ask about concessions. Dave, I was told you care about our concessions? Okay.
Only if there's alcohol being served.
There's no
Which there
alcohol.
wouldn't be, so.
Nope.
Okay, any questions or anything? Entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion. It's my district.
Thanks, Adam.
I'll second.
It's not because I work there. It's my
It's your ward.
it's my ward.
Good to know.
So if it gets loud, you know who the calls go to.
I'll block your number these days.
Put them on speed dial.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further questions or discussion? Hearing none, please indicate your approval by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? You're good to go.
Thank you.
It'll be nice,
Now, that
it'll be
wasn't
nice
so
having
bad,
football
was
games
it?
again this fall.
Thank you.
Well, you might remind people while they're listening, football games at DePaul are free. All of our athletic stuff except Monon and tournament stuff is free. Yeah, so please come. TSA quick.
Okay, next is department reports. We have several department heads here tonight, and we have several on vacation. So if anybody wants to come up, Rod will probably throw a few programs on the screen for the benefit of our viewing public.
Good evening, everyone. So we'll start off with, I sent my report to you electronically, but I also left hard copies on the desk for anybody who didn't review it. I'm not going to go into those. I'll let you do that. I also included a copy of our minutes, draft minutes from the last park board meeting. But if you don't mind, I'll just mention that the Greencastle Aquatic Center, number two question, the Greencastle Aquatic Center the season is closed. We ended last Sunday. And from the looks of it, early looks like we had a great season. Okay, I am waiting for this payroll, and then following the approval of the expenses tonight, the expense report to see how we've done. The number one question that we've had this week is, yes, the Bob York Splash Park will be open following our season, and last year we closed around October, I think it was October 2nd. Yeah, when we get at least three or four non-70 degree days. That's when we'll close. But last year was October 2nd. So the Bob York Splash Park will remain open. Otherwise, if you don't mind, I would like to just plug some programs that we got coming up that I listed there. We're going to recognize through our Brickmania program, it's National Ice Cream Cone Day. We have a special Lego kit. It's an ice cream truck that we're offering. For our Lego fans, we've got a Build and Learn Toolbox workshop where each individual will get to build their own toolbox. And what's neat is that program is sponsored by Black Lumber Company from here in Greencastle, and the tools they use to put the toolbox together actually go in the toolbox and go home with our participants, donated from Black Lumber Company. We have our annual Glow Throw Disc Golf Tournament scheduled for October 2nd. Now, you just heard that there's a bike ride, 400 bicycles, by the way, is what she was expecting, coming in that morning, which should be done mid-afternoon. In the evening at Big Walnut Sports Park will be our Glow Throw Tournament. And then Showdown on the playground, we're going to try it. We've had requests for a fall kickball league. We're going to try kickball at Roban Park. And although we're going to limit it to the first 6 to 8 teams, I've already got 2 in. So this is kind of exciting. We'll see how that goes there. But that's plugging our the first 4 programs coming up. If anybody has any questions, I'd be glad to answer them.
I have one question.
Yes.
Great job on the pool. It looks fantastic.
Yes,
Heard all kinds of positive things. How do you know how many people went down the green slide and how many went down the orange slide? It was like 20,000.
At the very beginning of the season, we brought clickers. I bought clickers
Really?
for our lifeguards, yes, and they counted. Yep, to see how. And we're really interested to see what kind of numbers we can get. And as you can, I'm sorry, I do not have that.
It was all about the green slide, almost 20,000.
Yep.
That's science.
I know, yeah.
So that was it.
That beats the heck out of 1, 2, 3, 4.
The 5, yeah, hash mark 5, yeah, that's right. But clickers, no, we bought clickers. So, all right. Any other questions?
And Adam's trying to recruit one of our newer firefighters to join the deposit.
He was actually really good.
Diving team.
He was good.
Yeah.
I take him.
Okay, great.
All right. Hey, thank you.
Rod.
Yep, have a good evening.
Thanks, Rod.
Any other questions or anything from?
Is Brad here by any chance?
Brad is on vacation.
Would you happen to know if a light is out on a state road, where can they report that?
Just call us and we'll get it reported.
Okay.
Or we do have a link on our city website that people
Not a
can
street light, like a traffic.
Oh, traffic light,
crossing
yeah. Or just call us tomorrow and we'll take care of it.
Okay.
We'll get it called in.
And then maybe before Tom goes, I know some of us, Tom, I know our fire isn't here, but some of us were over at the EMS, and I think we ought to at least acknowledge that.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
Some of our people that were there might be better than me, but one of our citizens in our community had a massive heart attack and is out and doing great, and it's a very rare feat. The police, the fire, the EMS were all recognized. You know, we talk sometimes, and I was talking to Tom, sometimes we get criticized. We spend so much money on safety services, or we put AEDs in the police cars, or the county took over Operation Life so we get more ambulances out there. But this person who was there that night, Tony Robertson, who many people know is on our school boards, coached our kids, was saved because it was a perfect save. Our policemen who showed up immediately got going with CPR, AEDs, the fire department who showed up, EMS got there, so I want to commend the police, but through you, all the EMS and people in our community that did that, so I don't know if...
The thing that amazed me, too, was as everybody stood up there were probably, 15 or 16 people that touched that situation in a 10-minute period, and they worked together, and, I mean,
yeah,
it was wonderful.
Dispatch, so...
Yeah.
It was really well presented that this was a chain of success, and that every person in the chain played an essential role.
Did their job.
Thank God Tony's wife Tammy was there.
Yep, and she was part of the chain too.
Yep, there's Tony and Tammy right
Well,
there.
when we talk about the money we spend,
Pass it down.
I mean, this council a few years ago took fire, we put a third policeman on the roads and all this stuff. So Tom, thank you to all your guys. It's not always about, as you know, kicking the doors. It's the other part.
Yeah. Yeah, well, thank you for those comments, and thank you all for providing that, the funds to get that equipment. I know when we made those purchases several years ago, the mayor took a stand that we needed these, and so through the fire department, I think John and the mayor worked it out, and we've got, 10 or 11 new AEDs spread throughout the city, in city buildings and in police cars, and that's what they're there for. You pay for it when you save a life, and we used it and other devices that have been purchased throughout the county to save Tony's life that day, and so that makes it all worth the while. And it gives me goosebumps to stand here and talk about it, but I know Tony personally through DePaul and many other things, and know his wife and their family, and when you could see, I was kind of waiting in the back door and was supposed to escort him in because we wanted to surprise the emergency services folks because they didn't know Tony was going to be there. Well, Tony ended up coming in the side door, and knowing Tony, and when I heard his voice, him say, "And I'm that man," well, I didn't get to watch him walk in, but that's okay. But just to hear his voice and see the emotions and appreciation on his face for having the first responders there, having the equipment, and for it to work effectively to bring his life back. I mean, because
he's one of the good guys.
And all of our firemen are EMTs. It's something, additional.
Because unfortunately, our police and fire and EMS perform CPR more often than most people know, and majority of the time, the outcome's not good. And this time it worked, and we're very thankful.
I think it goes to the very positive relationship that our public safety forces have across the county and working together and working to the benefit of our citizens.
Yeah, and I think that proved, and I won't go into details about the case, but the very serious court case that we had this week, that goes into play with that you had state police, county sheriff's department, and Greencastle Police Department effectively work together to build a case, and due to the way it was, put on through the trial, jury found that person guilty on all charges, and that just goes back to the effective work that all these agencies can work together day in and day out and do their job and cooperate. When we don't have the services, we can reach out to the state police who have experts in things that we're not experts at and have equipment that we don't have the ability to purchase or get, and we can rely on each other, especially in a serious situation that occurs in our community. So I applaud all the agencies that came together to make sure that we got that conviction.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Hey, thanks, Tom.
And one last thing, positive, if you did not make it out to National Night Out, we had a great event. I will put the numbers and stuff in next month's council report, but we're guesstimating, we had a debrief today, we're guesstimating about 1,800 people showed up.
Nice.
It was the biggest event we had. We gave out, I think, between 1,400 and 1,500 bracelets. There was a lot of people that didn't get them. Our volunteers didn't wear bracelets. So we're guesstimating between 1,700 and 1,800 people participated, between volunteers, families showing up. We had a lot of comments being made because it was moved to the fairgrounds, and that was our first time being out there. That it looked like the fair was still going on. There were so many vehicles parked out there in the lots where people were parking for the fair, and we even had people show up thinking the fair was going on because they were from our older community, and they were looking to get fair food. Well, we served them pizza and hot dogs. They got food.
They got fair food.
But
Not fair food, but they got food.
But they didn't get a backpack to take home. But that's okay.
That's
you know,
okay.
they got to eat, and like I'll put in my report, all that stuff, that food, all the food items that we were served that evening, is all donated from our community, and so it doesn't cost a family a dime to come there. And when they walked away, most families had a backpack full of school supplies for their child for that grade, a new pair of shoes, and some of them even got coats for Kids. We tried to wrap it all into one.
Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's great.
So yeah,
I'm glad you moved it out to the fairgrounds.
We moved it out to the fairgrounds, and then we even actually had, as many of you know, we have a permanent fitting station, so we get grant money and hand out car seats. And we even had the person who oversees our cart seat program, she wanted to do a booster bash. And between what she brought to the event and others that got signed up, there's approximately 87 kids that either that night or have since then, as soon as we can get them scheduled, will walk away with being in a age-appropriate car seat. So, I mean, it was a great event. Great event.
It was very crowded. I got there about 5 minutes late and was parked at the far side of the horse arena way out in the back 40. And and as I talked to a few of the vendors, they were astounded at the turnout and very grateful that they had the opportunity to participate and share their information and stuff. So kudos to you and your team and the committee and your co-chair. And
Linda Merkel and I have co-chaired it ever since we started. This was our 14th event because we weren't able to have it due to COVID last year. But it goes back to that. It takes a village, and Linda and I could not do without it, with all the people who come out and help with the event, the sponsors, the vendors that come out and give out, you know, stuff to the people who show up. So it truly is a community event. We just kind of organize it. Thank you.
Thank you, Tom. You and your officers stay safe out there.
We will.
And dry.
Well, go ahead.
So at the end of June, I was voted in as the president of the Indiana Municipal Lawyers Association for the year.
Hey.
So I'll be serving in that capacity for the next year. And I guess I learned after that I'm also on the AIM, Accelerated Indiana, it used to be IACT, AIM Board of Directors. So,
Cool. That's awesome.
That's great.
But non-voting for that group. But so yeah, that's kind of
Congratulations.
exciting.
Yeah.
Interesting. Yeah. I've been on the board for a while.
What Lori participates in that, I mean, she's always coming up with great things that she learns from her colleagues around the state to keep us on the straight and narrow, and as well as other things that we can take advantage of. So
Our seminars stress me out, actually.
I can only imagine.
I put a list of things.
yeah.
Lawyers.
But it is a great benefit for us as a community to both have Lori as a full-time attorney, but also her participation in these statewide efforts, because it does bring a lot of benefits to us. So, any other questions? I think Scott's the last one. I don't know if anybody has any questions for Scott, but otherwise, our department heads are dismissed. Enjoy the rest of the evening with your families. I'll go on just a quick report. We are still working on the State Ready Grant program. Our region has grown to 6 counties because the state has asked us to include Morgan and Johnson counties. So we're working 6 counties: Hendricks, Boone, Montgomery, Morgan, and Johnson, including ourselves. If we're successful, we could bring in $50 million to the region to help support projects. So we're working on that. The deadline for that is September 30th. American Rescue Act, we're going to get a little bit more money than we thought. Originally, we were scheduled to get $2.14 million. It looks like we might get $2.3 million. Our small business grant program, we have to have a kind of a closeout public hearing. That is scheduled for September 20th at 1:30. We will be sending letters of invitation to all of the businesses that we supported. We are swearing in a new police officer next week to fill a vacancy. I also would like to thank our staff once again for their continued efforts during our coronavirus adventure. We are seeing a significant increase in cases in the county, and I probably will be issuing some information next week to ask people to once again mask up when they join us here at City Hall. Kind of waiting on some additional advice from the health department on that. Also, again, to reiterate, we had a great year at our aquatic center. Wonderful team of young people serving as lifeguards, managers, concession stand folks. A lot of good activity there. Students at DePaul will be returning to campus over the next couple weeks, so be wary driving around campus for students walking across the street without looking each way. Land and Water Conservation Grant, our site visit went very well with that, so we'll see what happens there. We are starting to gear up to reapply for Next Level Trails. That application deadline will be, I think, December 1st. Our sidewalk projects, the bid package is nearly complete and ready to go out for bid. We'll be bringing that to Board of Works next month for the bids. Anybody who's been in Stacy's neighborhood by Comprehensive Services know we've got a bit of a project going on down there, but they are making good progress.
They're working every day.
Yeah,
I mean, they're running the equipment and they're not.
It has been a little complicated because we originally asked Duke Energy to move one pole for us, and then when they inspected the pole line, they came back and said, well, we really need to do all of these, so, but everybody's working well together. We have learned that our Okra Water Grant, we will receive award information tentatively on September 9th. We also submitted that same information to the Indiana Finance Authority. If it goes through that agency, we might know of an award August 27th. So hopefully it's moving in the right direction, and we'll receive positive information from one or the others. On the community center, we're finishing up some details of the contract with the construction manager, and hopefully if everything is in good order, that will appear at the redevelopment commission meeting later this month. So moving forward there, we have the replat paperwork done because we adjusted the size of the lot a little bit, and the engineers are working on the site plan. The drawings are moving along quite nicely, so a lot of work in that effort.
Is that all one plat out there?
We just replatted the lot that the Y is on. We still have some acreage out there that is not officially platted yet, pending future development. The Y site went from about 12 acres to about 14.75, and we adjusted some things relative to the construction of Capitol Drive. So.
All right, I thought you wanted it to be all one plat, is that right?
Well, just the part that the Y is on.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's the only thing that so that the part that we get the bond on is just one.
Yeah. It's one site. When we have multiple plats out there for the property that's already been subdivided, the Duke Energy site, and then there's a separate plat for the Y site to reflect that adjustment. So, okay. Linda, turn it over to you.
I really don't have too much other than it's been budget time, so I'll pass my time to be able to talk about it later, so.
Nothing?
Yeah.
Nothing?
Nothing to share today.
Nothing to report.
Nothing here.
Same for me. Nothing really. There really is not.
It's hot out there.
Yeah.
Okay, next on the agenda is minutes of the regular session of July 8th. Be happy to entertain a motion.
I move to approve the minutes of July 8th, of the regular session of July 8th, 2021.
I will second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the minutes as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions? Hearing none. Next is approval of city claims. I think between Mark and Dave.
We had a payroll of $5,000. $567,130.63, and pension contributions of $18,508.98. On direct payables, a total of $149,828.31. The major expenditures, we had 3 invoices from Spiker Excavating on the sidewalk projects totaling $12,844. We had a payment to Bonavita Architecture for the community center of $63,742.08. And then we had the usual bill for city fuel from Co-Alliance. This time it was in the amount of $7,003.98. And we also had a payment to First Financial Bank on a police car loan in the amount of $12,798.25. On the accounts payable, they total $216,185.83. We replaced an overhead door with Brazil garage door at $2,050. We had 2 civil engineering invoices totaling $17,407.50. Co-Alliance, a couple of invoices for $8,244. And Chris Construction did work in the park, totaling $4,655. The police department bought 11 new laptops at $8,754.24. The big expenditure in these claims is regards to the pool renovation, and that was a check to Grave Construction of $78,079.20. And then in the cemetery, Kubota repairs and a new Dixie chopper totaling $7,245.23. And with that, I'll make a motion that the claims be approved.
I'll second that. Thank you, Dave.
A motion and a second on the claims as presented. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed or abstentions?
Abstention.
Okay, thank you. Next item of business is old business. The first item is Resolution 2021-15, a resolution affirming IAC Greencastle of compliance with Statement of Benefits. I know Kristen Clary has contacted them. She is on vacation, so I don't have an update on that. So I would recommend that remains on as tabled. If that's okay with everybody. Next item of business is Resolution 2021-10, a resolution establishing the policy by which members of the Common Council may participate by electronic means of communication. That was tabled. I think we're still kind of working on that. We got some interesting information just the other day that our insurance carrier has set up a Zoom room in their business, and they've invited us to come and kind of take a look at the technology and the software and how they're doing things. We continue to look at options, so I'm not sure we have a lot of information on that one yet either at this point.
Mr. Mayor, when would you be going?
Well, I think one of the things we've got to figure out is working with Greg and some of the other providers to see how we integrate that with our cable access channels and stuff like that. And that's really the stickler and stuff. So
the state of emergency, the health emergency has continued.
Yeah, it's been.
So what are we currently operating under? Can we zoom in now? Are we not zoom in legal? Does anybody know what our current rules are?
For
well, the state, under the state of emergency, the governor keeps extending that.
Yeah. Well, that's a good question. I mean, people are still arguing about whether the governor had authority to begin with, but I mean, presumably we could still do that under the governor's emergency authority. So that's sort sort of in conflict with the statute that says you can do it if you do these things. So I don't have a good answer.
So what kind of time frame are we on
I
for?
believe you probably can because the governor's emergency authority.
And that really, I think, gets to what you were asking, is how quickly do we have to do this? Because I feel like we're on multiple rules here.
Oh, that's not what I was asking.
Oh.
I was just wondering when you were going to go look and inspect the.
The Zoom room?
Yeah. I mean, obviously, we're limited by our capabilities right now.
Yeah, we'll probably go up in the next couple of weeks. It's because, yeah. Go ahead.
Can let us know.
So they're having a major Zoom presentation in a couple weeks where it's going to tie in all the employees in the town of Plainfield. And so they've invited myself and Bill and Lloyd to attend that. So that will give us an opportunity to see how that looks when you zoom into several, probably hundreds of employees to see how it works. And then if that goes pretty well, then I think we can then kind of look into the software, and then I will pull in, look at, Veronica, we're still going to have a meeting with Greg and Tom, and what that looks like here. I know Bill's doing some other research on some other ways to make this area better. So I know we talked about getting together quickly, but it kind of with budgets and everything, and it's a lot more complicated than putting a TV up on the wall and trying to make it all work. So yeah, in fact, when he was discussing it the other day, he talked about their new Zoom room, and I'm like, who was your folks that did all that? And they kind of did it on their own, but
These realize that's interesting.
one of their persons has a little bit of expertise, but so
I thought it was part of
we
this
want
one
to
up
check
here.
that out and then kind of see what they looking at. And there will be money in the budget to do something. We have other pots of money that we can do something with. So that's kind of why we kind of delayed it, but we'll be in contact.
Anything that involves screens up on the walls, one thing that I'd be interested in is finding ways to leverage them for digital signage purposes, outside of the
public meetings,
dedicated purpose of them when they're effectively idle and there's not meetings taking place.
2 o'clock in the afternoon
Effectively,
during the week.
somebody walks in, they can see what's happening when our public meetings are happening, when and where our large city events are occurring.
So just leave it on the table? Yes.
I'll move to leave it on the table.
Okay, so we'll just keep that on table for now. Okay, new business, budget discussion. Our budget committee met yesterday, and I'll turn the floor over to Linda.
So really, the purpose of tonight is to get kind of your blessing to go ahead and advertise this budget. As I explained to the budget committee last night, we have a couple of things that we won't find out until next week. And one of those would be tomorrow. Our insurance, our health insurance for city employees, they're going to kind of give us a ballpark of what the most it will be. So that's supposed to happen tomorrow. Right now, that is budgeted at 10% of an increase. It could be, I'm hoping it's not more, but I'm hoping it is less. So there'll be an adjustment there. And then the other item that Bill and I will meet with DLGF on the 18th. And we're hoping that we will get some additional revenue numbers. The main one being our lit, of what the lit is. I have currently budgeted very low. I think it's going to be much higher than what it is. So, we'll have that. So that's going to be kind of a game changer. So the three of you that were not here, at your desk, the yellow folder is your miscellaneous revenues that the city will collect, but the purple folder is probably more important to see. It's got what we have actually gone through and budgeted, and then it also kind of some projections of cash flow for the years, and we're in really good shape as far as the budgets. We're able to, we did an analysis with our salary person, and it's about a 1.8% salary increase for hourly employees. It's not huge like it was last year. It's all very doable. I think we can go with that, and that's what's in the budget this time. I think probably in 2023 budget, we'll be looking at bigger salary increases as things are happening in the future. So I think, we need to do what we need to do this year. Our cash balances will continue to be pretty high into what we have to do in 2023. In the budget, the mayor kind of took a look at needs as far as what vehicles are needed. So that's reflected in the budget. I guess I'll go ahead and say that we have put in an additional police officer back into the budget that they were short last year. And then John and the mayor worked out how we can use part-time firefighters to make sure we have more guys on coverage. And that's reflected in the budget. So we took care of probably a few little shortfalls or issues. We did not have to change anybody's, down to part-time, so it was actually a pretty easy year to put the budget together and everything balanced. It did help that we did our general funds in really good shape because we do have that COVID money from last year. Now, I'm not talking about the new money, but the last year's money where we got to put it all towards payroll. So that helped, and so I can send out an email when we hear kind of the information
Please.
from the insurance and what the lit will be. I expect the lit to be even a couple $100,000 more than what it's currently budgeted, so that'll put us in a really good place.
Can I ask you a question or two?
Yes.
So, by adding, I remember John's kind of proposal. What will that bring our total staffing to in the fire department? Like, not in total number, but how many will we have in station then?
Probably 4 to 5 at all the time, instead of just more like 3 to 4.
And then the extra policeman would keep us at 3 on.
Yeah, so really what the problem that the police run into is with vacations and things like that, it cuts down to where there's almost always a shift or something that's, down to 2, or if somebody's off sick or anything like that, then it really, training or something like that. So it does cause a hardship on the police. So the additional officer, I don't know how they utilize it, but it's kind of your.
It will get us to that goal of 3.
That keeps us pretty much
And
at
then,
3.
wasn't there, and I didn't really understand all this, but there's a shift now in how they're doing the police and fire's pension. It used to be based on.
Yes, yeah. So there is, yeah, that's a major factor here too. So, the city of Greencastle in the past, and it's been going on for a long time here, had always based the pension on a captain with 20 years of service, so the maximum longevity, okay? What has happened is, and I think they've probably tweaked a few wordings in the state statute, but now what pension will be based on is a non-promoted first-class officer with 20 years. So a captain is a promoted position.
Right.
So now we just would go with our police officer, patrol officer at 20 years, which would be the 4% longevity. Okay, so instead of, they're not going to make us take, last year they got their raises capped based on higher pensions. They're not making us go back and take that away from them. We are at that point, so PERF does not increase until our patrol officer reaches the amount of a captain. So we've got probably a few years before per full increase for police and fire.
So they're still using, they're not going to decrease it.
They will not decrease it. It will be what it was.
But it's not going to, we're not going to see an increase.
We're not going to see an increase
It's
until
gonna
our,
be flatlined.
until our police officer patrolman
Patrolman,
makes
20 years.
what a captain makes now.
Do we ever have a patrolman that stays a patrolman for 20 years?
Oh, yeah.
Do we? Okay.
Yeah, we do. We have
Okay.
some now, yeah.
And
That's not uncommon.
Okay.
But then I heard, but right now, like our retirement stuff, there was a study that came out. We came out really well.
Yes, we did. So I attended, Melanie and I attended the union meeting of the fire department. They invited the clerk treasurers. We went. And our guys are in the top. I mean, like, they had the one sheet page, and each one had about 45, 50 agencies. Our guys were on the second top
For both police and fire.
for police and fire.
Yeah.
Where if we had not done the raises last year and calculated them, they would have been on the third or fourth page.
And this is pension. This isn't.
Pension. This is their retirement. So guys that are getting ready to retire, it's really good for them.
Good.
So, anyways, it's no increase to us for a few years, but it has helped our guys that are getting ready to retire.
Good.
I'd like to add one thing as the liaison to the street department that I was really glad to see. We had a part-time maintenance person who was saving the city just bundles of money, and this new budget has a full-time maintenance person
Mechanic.
who will, a mechanic who will
Save us more money.
And the other thing we're going to add that's a little different is one of the positions was administrative assistant to the fire is going to be more of a helping more with the planning department in the permitting and will be also in ordinance enforcement. Will help with that process.
That's good.
That'll help out Scott.
They'll help out Scott and they'll help out Pat.
Yes.
So it'll be not so much doing fire things, but it's going to be now towards that.
Mm-hmm.
It's still under the fire department, but it's going to get a new job description.
A lot of what she did in the past was payroll and now that's all been automated.
Yeah, everything, but we've automated that part of what she did.
And she did a really good job of setting up a permitting system, and so that got automated too. So.
Yeah, so,
Great.
yeah, so we're making strides in automation and that. So, but so after we get those information, I will send out an email, kind of giving you the updates and if anything's changed or maybe a few new pages here and there. But I would ask that if you have the opportunity, please look through the budget, know what we're spending our money on, and if you have questions, call me. And so.
How much did you anticipate for this, the local income tax dropping?
So last year we got, well, as you can see here on the first page, Mark, the lit replacement for Cadgett is about $2 million this year.
Mm-hmm.
I
Okay.
estimated at 1.7 million.
Yeah, and that's just for the general fund, right?
That's just for the
So,
general,
yeah.
and that's the only thing that affects.
Okay,
Lit is the only thing that general
Okay.
fund affects. So I
so over
expect. it to be-
$300,000.
Yes, I expect it to be closer, well, to something, to 250 or whatever there. I expect it to be very close to like 1.9. maybe.
Okay, that'd be great.
Yeah.
And if we're short, we still have money in the Relief Act thing to catch up, depending on how it all calculates out. So,
But see, we ended 2020 with $1.8 million. That's almost unheard of, but like about 300 and some thousand of that was from COVID relief money. So that got us going in a good direction. And then this year, you know, we're probably going to end up with $2 million.
At 50% cash reserve, so that's super. All of them.
Super good.
So all of them have high cash reserves and cash reserve percentages.
Yeah.
So that's,
And even with next year, even with doing what we're doing, adding some things back with a low lit, you know, I guess the biggest problem is, you know, what will 2023 bring, but we should be in pretty good shape with all these cash reserves.
and do you want formal action by council so you can advertise?
I can advertise, you know, pretty much anyways, but if they want to make a form, that it's okay to I mean, what we will do is we'll have our normal first reading in September. I have to advertise the 10 days prior and all that, but I like to do a good almost month prior. And then the second reading will be in October, along with salary ordinances, all that.
And there's a chance to make changes as time goes on?
Yeah, I will
Because of
not
the-
advertise until we hit those 2 dates. So tomorrow's, and then that, and I guess if you all have questions or issue, we're not going to advertise till next Friday or so. But I will be in contact with you.
Once you advertise, we can't change it?
No.
Okay.
Well, you can always
Let's go
lower it.
lower, but you
You
can't
can
go
lower,
higher.
you can't increase it.
Right, and they can change line item parts, right? It's just the,
Yeah.
the
It's just the dollar
the
can't take.
total.
I mean, you may say, like, we got a couple things now, we're working with police cars and financing and things like that, so I may tweak those numbers if things happen, but we're not going to be increasing the budget. So I ask, please review that if you got any questions, or if you think I made if there is a a number error, because when you make one little change, it usually has to be changed in 6 different spots, so. And I will probably be sending you out the rate pages. But we weren't quite ready to do all that yet, since we're waiting on those couple of numbers.
Well, once again, thank you for Bill and Linda, as well as the department heads for working on this and getting it to the point where it is right now. And
Melanie, too, was heavily...
And
Yeah,
yes,
Melanie
oh,
worked
definitely, yeah.
Oh, I did a good job, yeah.
Yeah. Sorry to have slighted her in
No,
that.
that's all right.
Okay, any further questions for Linda on budget issues and advertising or anything like that? You're always welcome to come in, make phone calls and ask questions and stuff like that, so. Okay, next on the agenda is sort of just get the start of discussion for the edit plan. I emailed out sort of the draft. It's not substantially different than what we've done in the past, but, there are, opportunities out there or things that you might want to include or adjust. Be happy to go over that. I provide a little written explanation in the email, so be happy to answer any questions.
I just observed that I love seeing the word partner with the county on people's pathways. It's so rare. We just donate money or we do this. It was so nice to see the word partner.
Yeah. Well, this whole budget reflects a lot of partnerships at different levels with different organizations and things.
Just to see the word. I love seeing that word.
We have also been working with the county on our Relief Act plan has been pretty straightforward because we're relatively small, but we've had some conversations with the county on theirs. Not that we're asking for money, but for example, several of the fire departments were asking for equipment, and I mentioned to John, I said we need to coordinate so that if we're all buying equipment, we can use the same equipment together and things like that, and everybody's been very open to that sort of thing. So,
Well, as long as you're bringing up buying equipment, I've had a chance to talk to John.
Yeah.
But at the ceremony the other day with Tony's Life Saving, they showcased a brand new, coolest thing I've ever seen CPR.
Okay.
And it's almost like at a Buck Rogers, but in all seriousness, it saved his life. It goes under the patient, a board, and then it administers the CPR.
Oh, yeah.
And it turns out that many of the fire departments in our county got one because they were a little further out. We don't have one in our fire department because, I get it, the rural fire departments are further out from EMS, but it is something that we could make use of. The total cost was $21,000. I did my checking. I know I advocated AEDs years ago, but I have not talked to John about our people using it. But all of our firemen are EMT, so they are certified and able to use it. And it clearly can save lives because it delivers a consistent, good CPR stroke while you're doing it.
I'll ask John about that. Our big purchase for equipment that we built into the public safety lit is about $90,000 for extrication equipment.
Yeah, I saw that.
Jaws of Life.
I saw that. And we need that probably more, but 20,000 just didn't seem, it didn't seem like it was out of our,
Yeah, I'll ask
out of
John
our
about
realm.
that.
And he offered to bring it here one night. I mean, somebody who's worked in emergency service, I thought it was the coolest. It was awesome. It clearly would save lives.
And that's what the public safety lid is for.
Yeah. So.
Any questions? This is kind of in spreadsheet format. Once it's agreeable, we'll put it into the proper legal format for adoption. And as I mentioned in the email, we do have to have this on file with the county to receive our funds. We don't lose our funds. They hold it over there for us until we would file it, but we've got plenty of time to get it done by the first of the year, so.
And the budget should reflect his.
Yeah.
And the homeless shelter and Humane Society, they have not come to us for any additional. We're giving them what they want if they're funding they've asked for.
Yeah.
I'd like to make a motion that we adjourn.
Do we have to do anything with that? We can just let it go?
What's that?
We don't have to do anything with that.
Informational.
Okay.
There's no resolution yet.
Okay.
Okay. Motion to adjourn, any seconds?
Yes, I will second.
I like it here.
Did somebody actually second?
Yes, yes.
Okay, Veronica? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
If you want to discuss anything in the edit plan, just give me a holler. I'll be happy to meet you for a cup of coffee or anything.
We adjourned officially?
Yeah, it was emailed.